Welcome to episode 2 of Primeval, the episode with giant bugs and even bigger idiots. We start the episode on a London Underground train where a woman is attacked by a large arachnid resembling a spider. However, no spider ever grew that large. You see, in 1980, the fossil of an extraordinary arthropod from the late Carboniferous was described by Argentine paleontologist Mario Hunican. He described it as a giant Opisthethele spider and named it Megarachne, meaning giant spider. It was said to have a leg span of half a metre. It became incredibly popular, with museums producing reconstructions, and it even being slated for Walking with Monsters. Then, in 2005, a new team discovered a more complete specimen and realised that Megarachne was in fact a Eurypterid, not an arachnid at all. Realising this, Walking with Monsters team decided to change the script, referring to the animal as a Mesothele spider. Primeval's giant spider-like arachnid, however, most closely resembles a camel spider, an arachnid separate from both spiders and scorpions.
They're called anomalies, but I can't say anymore. Official Secrets Act.
So right out the gate with the idiocy, Connor decides to tell his conspiracy theorist friends about the anomalies and the fact that he's seen a Gorgonopsid.
I swear on my Empire Strikes Back first edition poster signed by Luke Skywalker and Dave Prowse.
At this point, the scriptwriter forgets Mark Hamill's real name because I'm pretty certain Connor wouldn't have.
Time anomalies and dinosaurs. It sounds like someone's been overdoing the PlayStation.
Oh, shut up, Tom. Gorgonopsids are the rhapsids. I hope you get infected with a dodo worm.
You know, one day you're going to be gutted you didn't believe me.
Either that or one of you will be dead and the other one carrying in a shipping container from a giant crocodile.
The saddest thing I've seen since Matrix Revolutions.
Implying any nerd would find Matrix Revolutions remotely moving. A while later, Connor discovers another creature sighting in the New Forest on one of his nerd websites, so he decides to convince Abby to come with him to investigate it. She stupidly agrees to come with him because he convinces her that she's just as useless as he is, and also because he discovers that she's keeping Rex at home. Now begins one of the silliest sequences in all of Primeval. So there's this pest controller spraying for cockroaches on the London Underground, and you think he's going to get eaten by one of the Carboniferous camel spiders, but instead it just goes and eats a rat. In the New Forest, Abby finally decides to question the sanity of the two of them going into a potentially dangerous situation without any backup. Meanwhile, Ben Miller is questioning the sanity of having a maverick such as Cutter on the team. But as this episode proves, Cutter should be the least of his worries. The pest controller, meanwhile, is failing his food hygiene, as well as failing to be attacked already. So Cutter and Claudia discuss Helen's work, and Cutter reveals that he believes that she's still alive. Spoiler alert, yes she is. Meanwhile, Connor tries to charm Abby by convincing her that Stephen
Could be gay.
He's gay.
Somehow she buys it.
Text from Abby. Connor thinks he's onto another anomaly.
So Abby tells her gay best friend where they are, which is just in time because they're about to be attacked by a giant dinosaur, which actually turns out to be an amusement park attraction stolen by Connor's stupid friends. Now all the while that this has been going on, the pest controller has been pest controlling the same stretch of tunnel, and at long last he finally gets attacked by a giant arachnid. So Nick fires Connor because he told his friends about the anomalies, but he keeps Abby on because she actually has some useful skills. We then jump immediately to Claudia and Nick in a hospital investigating the attack and eventual death of the pest controller. How they know that this one attack is linked to prehistoric animals, given the number of potential attacks that could be, I do not know. The doctor explains that the pest controller was stabbed and then injected with poison, which Nick suggests may be linked to an attack by a large venomous predator. Ben Miller grudgingly allows them to close off a small part of the underground where the man was attacked, but sends in Captain Soldierman and a group of squaddies to investigate first. They find the nest, but they're ambushed by the arachnids, which are clinging to the ceiling. Modern-day large tarantulas are too heavy to cling to ceilings, so instead they use silk on their feet. However, camel spiders can't actually produce silk on their feet. In fact, they can't produce silk at all. Then one idiot decides to shoot a gun. Someone gets bitten, but camel spiders don't have venom either, and Primeval does later in the episode acknowledge this fact. That's not the only thing they get right.
The gunshots were too bright, like fireworks.
Well, it's classic signs of excess oxygen in the atmosphere.
A richer and more heavily oxygenated air must be seeping through from another anomaly.
Now this is great. You see, Carboniferous arthropods wouldn't last long in today's atmosphere, but in Primeval they actually find a way of them coming through and acting perfectly naturally. Well, naturally for primeval animals, that is. The team prepared to go down to investigate, but Cutter asks for torches to scare the animals away rather than guns to shoot them with.
To tell you the truth, spiders aren't really my thing.
Well, technically, these are probably scorpions.
Better already.
The torches plan works pretty well, and they manage to convince some of the arachnids to go through the anomaly. However, Abby spots something rather larger. It's Arthropleura time. Now I know what you're saying, but Arthropleura is a herbivore. Well, is it though? You see, in 1967, Rolf and Ingham published a paper which showed that wooden material was found inside the body of an Arthropleura. However, Krauss showed in 2005 that the wooden material was in fact accidentally fossilized with the body, and it did not represent its dinner. Thus, the diet of Arthropleura is relatively open. Perhaps, like most modern millipedes, it was a detritivore or a herbivore. Maybe it scavenged meat. And being a terrestrial macropredator isn't completely off the table. So, surprisingly, Primeval's bad-tempered Arthropleura may not be as ridiculous as it seems. On the other hand, what isn't excusable is the fact that they've reconstructed it as a giant scolopendra and they constantly refer to it as a centipede. Also, what is it doing on the ceiling? The arachnids were bad enough! So Cutter gets separated from the other two, but he manages to make his escape through a back door. He then starts hallucinating because of the oxygen toxicity that he's seeing his wife Helen. The team decides that they're going to have to bring Connor back because none of them know anything about giant arthropods. Feeling left out of the behaving like an idiot club, Stephen decides to go get himself immobilized like last episode. He uses an improvised flamethrower, which is literally the worst weapon he could possibly choose in a high oxygen environment. He manages to keep the very hungry millipede at bay with it, but then the very magnetic anomaly decides to steal the flamethrower, so he gets chopped. In his venom-addled confusion, Helen, who obviously isn't dead, decides to pay him a visit and send him a secret message. Cutter then discovers him, and he relays the message that Helen is on the other side of the anomaly waiting for him.
Okay, carboniferous, so it's probably an arthropleurid. That's a centipede on steroids.
Millipede, Connor, millipede.
According to this, it would have eaten dead wood and leaves.
So it's not poisonous?
No way.
That's a good thing, then.
Been bitten by the arthropleura. Same wound, same symptoms as a pest controller. We need to do something before it destroys his central nervous system.
Poison.
Spiders are off the hook. It's a centipede that's the killer.
Not poisonous, you said?
I was only speculating.
So getting Connor back on the team achieved absolutely nothing. Connor was also wrong about Stephen being gay as he proceeds to hit on Abby.
But if we can get hold of a good sample of the venom, we might be able to find an anti-venom that matches it.
Somehow I find it unlikely that we'd have an anti-venom that matched a venom used by an animal 300 million years ago. The soldiers chase the rest of the arachnids back through the anomaly, but Cutter tells them to make sure the Arthropleura doesn't go through because they need to take a sample of its venom.
I'm going to invite a very angry centipede to bite me.
Ah yes, Cutter, you wouldn't want to be left out of the Stupid Ideas Club. However, no one can find the Arthropleura anyway, and Cutter becomes convinced that it must have already gone through the anomaly.
Damn it! Professor! I'd forgotten. Arthropleurids, they were supposed to be burrowers, so look for a hole in the floor, in the walls, anywhere.
Ah, Connor finally decided to be useful for once. Well, there's no evidence for Arthropleurus being burrowers, although many millipedes do today. It's also done, in the space of a matter of days, what took Andy Dufresne 19 years.
How deep could this be? A creature that size, 50 feet maybe.
I'm not convinced that this Arthropleura isn't made of metal. Cutter decides to take Connor and Captain Soldier Man with him, maybe in the hope that Connor might be eaten. Once Cutter gets his sample, they decide to catch it in the most humane way possible. Nah, who am I kidding? They shoot the hell out of it and then manage to electrocute it. Blimey, that's in itself 50 feet! They get their venom and an anti-venom that matches it, and of course Stephen's fine. Only he can't remember talking to Helen or hitting on Abby. The episode finishes with Nick telling Connor that he's on the team. He then tries to talk to Helen through the anomaly, but she doesn't respond because sound doesn't travel through anomalies. This episode's an odd one, given the fact that the first third doesn't actually have much to do with the story, rather is there for character development and to fracture the team a bit. The accuracy rating in this one is likewise confusing, given the fact that it gets so many things wrong and yet so many other things right.